It feels like every few days I'm hearing that someone's moving to Dubai. And they rave about the lifestyle, the weather, the tax-free living, the safety. And you know, that may well be great for them, but it's not necessarily feasible for everybody. And I want to talk about in this video, how can you create the Dubai lifestyle while living in the UK? And there are obvious things that will fail on if you were to do a comparison, but I believe that there are definitely things that we can take from the lifestyle in the Middle East, in Asia, in some African countries to make our lives easier in the UK as working people, mothers, wives, homemakers, and all the other things that DIY UK have you doing. So why don't you stick around in this video and see how I found little hacks to try and improve the quality of my lifestyle, which mean that I don't need to rush to move halfway across the world. So this idea first came to me January 2023. I was doing a professional exam and I'd already failed the first sitting. And I was a mum of two at that point. My youngest was just shy of 1 year old. And I called my mum and said, "Mum, I need your help." So for 3 weeks, she stayed with me and my family and she looked after us. And when I say looked after us, she literally helped me with the kids, helped me with the cooking, helped me with the laundry, helped me around the house, and just lightened my load. And I genuinely just sat down one day and was like, oh my gosh, this is how my mates in Nigeria are living. Because in Nigeria, if you have a good paying job, you can generally afford to pay for a cook, a cleaner, a gardener, a driver, and anything else to lighten the load at home. And as a woman who works, but also parents, and also side hustles, that's genuinely what I need to make my life feel easier. And listening to one of my favourite books, We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers, that's also one of her key things about leveraging your time and using services to give you back time. So buying back your time. Remember that meme? I reclaim my time, I reclaim my time, I reclaim my time. I'm going to interrupt this video, ask you to subscribe to this channel. I talk about my medical career, my desire for a side hustle, side business, and how I balance that all with mothering 2 kids and being a wife and managing a home. And that's what this channel's about. How can you thrive and be productive when you've got so much going on? And if this is something you vibe with, please subscribe down below and check out my other content. Yes. Well, I follow a family who moved to Dubai and the mother of that family has literally reclaimed her time. And I'm like watching, slightly jealous, and I'm like, but how can I do that in the current situation I'm in? Because one, I could up sticks and move to another country, which isn't necessarily feasible, but I could also just move and live the exact same lifestyle in another country that I'm living here. So unless I change my mindset about health whilst I'm here, if I ever did move, it will just be an easier adaptation. Do you understand what I mean? Do you understand what I mean? So another way I'd say this is, in the UK, it is very much accepted that you just get on with it. You know, people can decorate their own houses in order to avoid paying for someone to do it. You do your own cleaning, you do your own laundry, you do your own cooking, you do your own grocery shopping, you do your own driving, you do your own childcare, as well as holding down a full-time job, and you are just expected to get on with it. But actually, in many countries around the world, that is not the norm. So what have I done and how have I done it? Quick caveat, I know that in the UK we cannot compete on safety, we cannot compete on tax, and we cannot compete on the weather. And if you want to argue with someone, it's not with me. There are hard facts that prove these statements. But there are other things that we can do to try and improve how we live. So my first thing is childcare. So I've gone through the hoops with this, in the sense that with my oldest daughter, we just did nursery, it worked for us. We both were not as busy as we are now, so it was fine. And then for the second one, we did nurse, but she kept getting ill. And I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't working for her. Can we find a way that we can afford to pay for someone to look after her in the home? So a live-out nanny in this country is not something that we could afford. And then I considered the cost of a live-in nanny because we had the room. And a live-in nanny, did a few interviews. A live-in nanny didn't really work for us because it just felt like we would be missing out on the social aspects of nursery while we're funneling all that money into a private carer. And then I thought about an au pair, which again was slightly cheaper, which meant that we could do the au pair, maybe she gets a few days in nursery, and then we couldn't again really find someone suitable that was reasonable with reasonable agency fees, so again we parked that. And then we went around the houses, we tried taking recommendations, we tried going through back doors, we tried going through random WhatsApp groups and not official agencies. And then we had to reassess what are the actual pain points. So for us, our pain points were getting the kids to school in the morning, huge pain point. Because I leave earlier, it means it's all on my husband, who's often running late for work. Second pain point is keeping the house clean and tidy. Although we pay for a weekly or sometimes 2 weekly cleaner, so every other week cleaner, you often find that in the day-to-day it does get messy, and again with our busy schedules, not always appropriate or time efficient for us to do it ourselves. And then the laundry, and then the evenings with the meals, especially where we work shift work, and those were the main pain points. And then we were like, okay, fine, if we could handle getting someone just to help with the school drop-off, will that make our lives easier? And luckily we found someone through a recommendation who was happy to do that. So that was tick, 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 tick. We had gotten slightly closer to making our day-to-day easier. Now we were like, okay, with the cleaning, we don't need to get the same person who does a drop-off to help us with the cleaning. Can we find someone else? And again, that's still a journey that we're going through because it is a bit hard, but we persevere. And then when it comes to cleaning, I would say that there are different ways in which you can leverage a cleaner. You could get a cleaner once a week, once every other week. You could get a cleaner twice a week. I know of people who get a cleaner in every day. Now that's not necessarily something I can afford in the UK with the high tax, with the cost of living, with the low pay. But if it is something you can afford, then you don't need to move halfway across the world necessarily for convenience in your home. So our workaround was we get the cleaner and then we just have to block time to do it ourselves. And in terms of the laundry, we were like, trying to get the cleaner to do the laundry while they're cleaning can be a bit of a task. So again, making use of home pickup laundry services. So recently when we got back from holiday, I honestly couldn't face doing the laundry. I feel like it would have killed me. Well, not really, but it would have just hurt my soul. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a at home, the people that will come to the door, pick up your laundry, take it off, bring it back 48 hours, drop it off all nice and folded. Hey, presto. And it wasn't even that expensive. It was about 30 odd pounds. So yes, you can also make use of services like that. You can incorporate it into your monthly household bills, or you could use it ad hoc. And then you've got things that need doing around the house, like the gardener, that could be a monthly cost, the window cleaner, a monthly cost. And for me, for these things to be truly convenient, they just need to happen. They just need to be like, yeah, you come in every first day of the month, cool. That it's automated, I don't need to think about it. I don't need to think about when the cleaner's coming, or do anything extra for when they're here. These things just need to be automated for you to really feel the convenience of them. So how do you get around the cooking? I mean, I actually have watched a few people who've moved to Dubai and I actually don't know anyone that's gotten a personal chef out there. But I also imagine if I had someone helping around the house, helping me with the children, and I had more time, I may well find cooking more enjoyable. Or not. Who knows? Never been there. But ways in which I've tried to make cooking a little bit more enjoyable, 1, convenient, 2, is to do things like HelloFresh, where you get the box, it makes the dinner time slightly more interesting. It means that it's not, it doesn't take much brain energy because the food's already there. You're not necessarily thinking about how to food prep. An alternative, especially within our culture, we often do get Nigerian caterers who would be happy to batch cook for you, maybe on a weekly basis, whatever, and then you can keep the food, store it in the freezer, eat it when ready. So that's not something I've done myself because my youngest daughter has allergies, so I find that that's not, I don't know, I have trust issues, okay? So I've not necessarily done that, but I have done it from time to time. Whenever I do it, I'm like, oh, why don't I do this more often? And then another thing I see is, safety for the kids, which is great. Activity for the kids, which is great. And I don't dispute that. I've been there a couple of times, really enjoy it. My sister lived there and it raves about how safe it is for kids. But there are things that you can do in the UK that also mean that the kids are well looked after and well entertained. And I think living in London, we have a plethora of activities that the kids can do. Some of them are low cost or no cost at all, if you look at what your council offers, your local council offers, but also going out into central London, going to the museums, going out to plays, because again during the summer holidays you get a discount for kids. So those types of things can be done, and therefore the kids are entertained and you yourself feel like you're doing more for the kids. But ultimately it just comes down to having a strict work-life balance, in the sense that We all have 24 hours, but they're not the same 24 hours. Someone with 24 hours that can outsource a lot of the things I've just said has way more hours than you. But however, if you're in the UK and this is your current setting and you're in DIY UK, DIY London, then realistically, you have to find ways in which you can reclaim some of your time so that you could be more productive and so that you could live. And again, one of the other things I think that is worth doing is having very strict work-life balance. So doing things that you find fun. I've got another video where I speak about waking up slightly earlier to get more of the fun work done. Like, don't wake up at 5:30 to be folding laundry, because it's honestly not worth it. If you can outsource it, outsource it. And if you can't, fill your evenings when you're fed up with laundry. Don't do it first thing in the morning, in my humble opinion. And finally, it would be to say, like, create systems that just take up less headspace. So the only thing I can think of when I think of this is my hair. I need to get my hair done every 8 weeks to look neat and for me to feel good about myself. 8 weeks is a max. And so when the lady comes to do my hair, we book in the next date as she leaves, so I don't even think about my next hair appointment. It just pops up in my calendar and I'm like, oh yeah, that's today. And I make it work. So things like that. Just having a system for the cleaner, having a system for the laundry, having a system for the cooking. And once all these things are getting done, it means that you've got more headspace and more time, even if it is only minuscule, to get other things done. So in summary, can you create the Dubai lifestyle in the UK? We all know it's a no. But there are bits that we can take from that culture, from the culture in Africa. Like I said, if I was in Nigeria, I would be able to outsource a lot of these things. And even in some Asian countries, you can take those learnings and find a way to get stuff done here. And don't just get stuck in the rut, in the mindset of I have to do everything myself, because you don't. And it actually, in my opinion, helps the economy. If you farm out some of the money you're clutching onto to give it to someone else who can do a job for you, you put more money in someone else's pocket. And eventually that money does come back to you, because you then have more time to do something else that may make you happier, that may make you more productive, or have more creative ways to make money. So that's how I think we should look at this and consider these things when you're trying to improve your lifestyle. And unfortunately, as much as we may all want to up sticks, it may not be financially viable or physically possible for you. So you have to make the best of the situation you have. And if you are able, you still have to make the best of the situation you have, because when you're there, you've then shifted your mindset and taken on ideas to really maximize the convenience.